It was a tale of shocks, sunshine and 6 sensational tries for the Bears on Sunday as they beat promotion favourites Newcastle Thunder to maintain a perfect start to the new season. We've got all the reaction and analysis from an incredible day for you. This is the world's greatest podcast about the Coventry Bears. This is Bears Necessities. Yes, welcome to Bears Necessities, your favourite podcast about the Coventry Bears. We live at covbearspodcast.com. We're at covbearspodcast on Twitter. We're sponsored by York's Tim, and you can subscribe to our show on Apple and Google Podcasts, on Spotify and on YouTube too. I'm one of your hosts, Dave Musson. Joining me as always, my co-pilot and former Bears fullback, Craig Cathcart. Craig, I know you weren't able to be there for the game on Sunday, but I get the impression you're just as excited about it as I am.
Yeah, I'm still absolutely buzzing. I'm really delighted for everyone at the club to get such a momentous win. From a personal point of view, I'm pretty gutted I missed it, but you can't be at every game, and I'm just so happy that the Bears, they've had their first big test of the season, a really tough game against promotion favourites, and they've come through and they've won the game. Fantastic.
Absolutely, and that was the first ever victory for the Bears against Newcastle Thunder. So coming up, we will hear from Bears head coach Tom Tsang. We'll also hear from Sunday's supporters club man of the match, Nick Newman, and of course we'll have a quick look ahead to this weekend's trip to the Keighley Cougars. But of course, we're not going to start anywhere else than telling the story of what happened last weekend when the Bears beat Newcastle Thunder. So it was a bit of a crazy game, to be honest. 11 tries all told, lots of great rugby from both sides, lots of great tries from both sides, some incredible defence and hits from both teams as well. For all those people who think that expansion sides such as the Bears, and I guess we can class Thunder as an expansion side, for all those people who say they don't add much to the game, they're completely wrong. Sunday was an absolute fantastic spectacle of rugby league. So the Bears got off to an absolutely flying start. They opened scoring after 4 minutes. Jacob Jones scoring somewhat bizarre try. He lined up his man for a tackle, went up and tackled him, ended up with the ball and just sprinted in to score. And then not long after that, there was a quick fire double from Elliot Hall. So he scored on the 12th and the 15th minute. Both really well worked tries. First of all, it was a move from Nick Newman playing a short ball to James Meadows, who played a flat ball to Chris Barrett, who drew the 2-on-1. Easy pass to Elliot Hall and an easy finish for the fullback. And then a few minutes after that, again, Bears broke the line. Somewhat weird occurrences again. It came from an attempted kick from the Bears, which hit the back of a Newcastle player and came back into the hands of Kieran Sherratt, who popped the ball to Nick Newman, who broke the line brilliantly, drew the man, slipped it inside to Elliot Hall, and he had an easy run in for another finish. And Newman converted 2 of those tries, so that took it to 16-0 for the Bears after just 15 minutes, and it was an excited atmosphere around the Butts Park Arena, and you were starting to think, could this happen? Is this really going to happen? And then Newcastle woke up a little bit. Unsurprising, really, given how they lost their opening game of the season the week before. And they scored, to their credit, they scored 3 good tries in quick succession. Each of their wingers got over in the corner, and then their dummy half burrowed over from short range. So that pulled it back to 16 all after half an hour. And I guess Bears sides of old, having had that lead and then thrown it away, they might have crumbled at that point. But you got a real sense of where the club are at this season by the fact that the Bears edged ahead again before half-time, this time with a try through Rob Butler. Again, James Meadows making the break with some silky footwork. He just slipped the ball inside to Butler, who sprinted in, was tackled just short of a line, but he had enough momentum and force to carry him over the line and touch the ball down. And Nick Newman's conversion made it 22-16 at half-time, and Bears actually nearly scored again right on the break. Rhys Rance was very close to scoring in the corner, but the Bears went off to a standing ovation. Second half, everyone was probably expecting Thunder to come out roaring, and they did. Liam Finn, he formerly of Super League and recent World Cups, he touched down and converted his own try. That took it back to 22-all, just 3 minutes inside the second half. And again, you could be forgiven for looking round and thinking, wonder how the Bears are going to cope now. But yet again, they came back. 2 more tries. Hayden Freeman getting his 3rd try of the season. A really sensational score. He made the initial break down the left after some good handling between Kieran Sherritt and Jacob Jones. Hayden raced away down the left wing, looked like he was going to be in, only to be tackled by his opposite number. But a really clever inside pass back from Nathan Conroy at the play of the ball. Just found Campius Paul with a 2-on-1. Slipped it to Hayden and he scored in the corner, and that made it 26-22. And then just after the hour mark, possibly the try of the afternoon, certainly my favourite try of the afternoon, from Nick Newman. It came from a brilliant chip and chase from Nathan Conroy. He saw space ahead of him, dinked it ahead, ran through, gathered it, and then slipped the ball inside to Newman, who was supporting, who ran in, touched down under the posts, and that made it 32-22 with about 20 minutes to play. And you could really sense that the shock was on, and the Bears were looking good for it. Even when Newcastle scored a few minutes later, one of their forwards just powering over from close range to bring it back to 32-28. It still didn't seem too worrying for the Bears. And even after that, when they had Rob Butler sent to the sin bin for somewhat harshly, it looked like from the stands, for a bit of over-aggression at the tackle, he was sin binned. The Newcastle player was put on report instead, which seemed a bit unfair. But anyway, Bears were down to 12 men for 10 minutes, camped out on their own line, and they just repelled every Newcastle attack that was thrown at them. Hayden Freeman in particular with a superb hit on the try line, which not only saved the tackle but also forced a knock on and got the ball back for the Bears. And then the moment we all knew it was going to happen, 2 minutes to go, and Bears had completed a set of 6 in their own half. James Meadows sent a massive kick downfield, which got touched by the fingertips of the Newcastle fullback on the way out. It went out over the dead ball line. They had to tap it back. They had to kick it back to the Bears. And you just knew there was never really any danger after that. And the final hooter went. And it was like the Keighley game at home last summer all over again. Scenes of jubilation all around the Butts Park Arena. And even on a weekend when there's been some shock results in the game, I think the Bears have a very strong case to say that theirs was the shock result of the weekend. A terrific victory, 32 points to 28, 360 people saw it. We'll talk a bit more about the game in a minute, but first let's hear the post-match thoughts from a very, very happy and proud head coach, Tom Tsang. Wow, Tom, first ever win against Newcastle Thunder. This isn't really a question, but wow.
Yeah, exactly that. There's a lot of hard work has gone into that win today, and for me personally, being at the club for about 8 years, and just to see how we've developed and built, and so we've had a lot of tough times and a lot of good times, but that's probably the highest high that we've had. Newcastle obviously tipped to be top 2, if not favourites to win the competition this year, and for the boys to just give them no respect and just rip into them from the first minute is exactly what we've been asking for, and I'm just really, really proud of the boys, and I'm every time I think it's only just happened, but every time I think about it, I do get emotional because of the amount of work and effort that's gone into it. So,
and some of your tries today were spectacular. I mean, lots of long range finishes, lots of nice footwork, looking for gaps in the line, and real free flowing attacking rugby. Was that part of the game plan?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way we want to play, and that's the way we've trained since November. And we just needed to make sure that we had the personnel to be able to execute the vision of where we want it to be. But I think it's only game 2, but it all came together, and it was a perfect storm today, and just everything just seemed to fit in. And obviously we had a couple of patches there. We had 10-15 minutes in the first half and maybe 5 or 10 minutes in the second half, but other than that, I felt personally that we dominated the game, and it just shows what you don't need to have all the sort of the experience in the world or all the sort of the name brand that other clubs do, but as long as you've got work ethic and a little bit of sort of pride in the shirt and pride in the club, then you can go a long way. We've always known that, but obviously today is real proof of it.
And you mentioned there are a couple of sticky patches. Thunder drew level twice, and there was that 10 minutes where James Butler was in the sin bin towards the end of the game there. But bit like the Hunslet game at the end of last season. It didn't really look in doubt, did you? Were you worried at all?
Yeah, I was. That last 5 minutes felt like about 20 minutes, but no, we looked at the video from last week of what we did, and like we won fairly comfortably against West Wales, but we weren't happy at all with our performance, and we looked at some real key areas, particularly the ruck, because we knew Newcastle they've got one game plan, and that's just to go as hard as they can through the middle of the field and get teams on the back foot. But we knew that if we could match them there, they didn't have a plan B, and that's exactly as it proved. We rattled them early, we met their strong runners, and obviously got that lead, and then we came away from that a little bit, and we coughed up a couple of errors, and then that allowed them back into the game. That showed how good they are, that they're just a little bit of ball and they can get back into the game. But we knew that if we just stuck to what was working, that they wouldn't be able to have a second plan, a plan B. So once we got back into that groove and into that sort of pattern of play, we knew that we were comfortable, and we said to them at half time, be prepared to win this game in the last minute of the game, because that might be what it takes. Just stick in the grind, and that's what happened. So.
And I mentioned Rob Butler's name there already, and James Meadows as well. They both came into the starting lineup today, and they look like they've been part of this Bears squad for a long time. They were superb today.
Well, that's testament to them as young professional players, that they can come from London Broncos, have a couple of training sessions and fit in seamlessly. But having said that, obviously the way we've constructed our team, we've got a lot of young lads who have been through the London Broncos setup, which is where they came from. So they weren't complete strangers to the squad, and that was part of the reason why we were so comfortable accepting them because we knew that there was 7 or 8 of our players who had good relationships with those players anyway. So it wasn't just bringing in 2 or 3 strangers the day before a game. They've had a week of training. I've talked through at length with them the game plan. They've asked some good questions, and it just showed that they're quality players and have good futures ahead of themselves as well.
Elliot Hall, obviously important impact today with his 2 tries. Then he went off injured. What's the latest on him? Because we didn't see him again the rest of the game.
Yeah, so he came off with a bit of nausea and feeling sick. I don't know whether he took a knock to the stomach or not, but he didn't feel too well and actually did throw up on the sideline. He actually came back round and felt better. However, with the reduced interchanges, we just couldn't afford to bring him back on as an outside back. We knew that we needed to keep our middle fresh, so we did that, and good job that we did, because that 10-minute period when Rob Butler got the sin bin, that was really crucial, and if we had have wasted a sub earlier in the day, then we might not have been able to get through that period. So very happy with how that panned out.
So next week you go up to Keighley, and the scene of a pretty horrible experience from last season. You kind of started making amends for obviously beating Keighley down here, but 2 from 2, you're going up to West Yorkshire on a roll here.
Well, yeah, and I said to the boys after the game that they've just got to believe in themselves, and the first 4 years of our time in this division, there's been a bit of a mental block when it comes to the northern teams and these heartland teams, that they're going to be more experienced than us, they're going to know how to win games, and sometimes that's been true, but I think today we've proven that means nothing with the squad and the group of guys that we've got this year. 90% of them are from all live in the Midlands, and they've just turned over one of the favourites, so they should go up there with every confidence. Having said that, there's still a lot of things that we need to improve, and we're nowhere near where we need to be. Happy to get the win today, but we start again on Tuesday. We tear ourselves apart to build ourselves back up again, and hopefully we'll improve again.
And just lastly, what could this mean for how you set up for the rest of the season in terms of confidence and belief in this squad? I mean, we've heard a couple of times that people have said the Bears have arrived, and it's really starting to feel it now. It feels like there's more days like this ahead this season. Well,
I hope so, but at the same time, I don't want anyone associated with the club to get too carried away, because one win doesn't mean anything in the scheme of the season. And Newcastle, they'll obviously improve, and they'll come back next time we play them. They'll want to get revenge on us and all that sort of stuff, and obviously now that we've beaten Keighley, we won't have that sort of surprise sort of effect that we might have had today. People will take us seriously. I'm not saying that Newcastle didn't. I'm sure they did, but that's what we've experienced in the past, and teams have been able to get away with it because of our experience. But now we've proven to ourselves. It's just holding on to that belief now and just improving week in, week out.
Tom, brilliant stuff today. Best of luck for Keighley next week, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you.
So thanks to Tom Tsang for joining us. Obviously a very happy head coach, and just a wonderful day at the Butts Park Arena on Sunday. So Craig, I kind of feel bad dragging you on the podcast, making you talk about this when you weren't able to go. But
but you've described that brilliantly.
Thank you.
And in the interview, I can actually picture Tom smiling all the way through. I'd imagine actually his getting up and going to work today, he had a massive smile on his face as well. And certainly a lot of Bears fans and everyone else associated with the club. It's been a nice Monday morning going back knowing that the Bears have had such a great win.
It really has.
But yeah, you did describe it very well. I've actually seen the final Bears try on Twitter, and it was absolutely fantastic. Again, Nathan Conroy just showing what class he's got. I mean, that's something. The Bears have had some good positions at hooker over the last few years, but are good players at hooker over the last few years. But he's something extra special. When there's a play on, when he can make a break, from dummy half, he'll do it. And that try was absolutely phenomenal. Certainly deserves to be in the try of the week on the R League app this week. I hope it makes it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the Bears could put all of their tries on. Maybe not Jacob Jones' one. It was a good finish, but it was a slightly weird situation how he came out of the tackle with the ball. But the other 5, the try of the week competition could be entirely Bears tries this week. They were that good.
That would be quite a good thing to see. But and also Martin Watson kindly put up the moment the final hooter went and the Bears realised that they'd won the game, and the crowd was certainly making a lot of noise. As I said, devastated I wasn't there, but I'm still buzzing from it anyway, regardless of whether I was at the game or not. Just a fantastic win. So you were there, Dave. So player of the match supporters player of the match was Nick Newman, who has, considering, he's come to the UK for the first time, he's getting used to the weather, the pitches, getting used to training here, everything else. I mean, he's settled in brilliantly, hasn't he?
He really has, and he did next to nothing wrong on Sunday, which is something you could say throughout the entire Bears squad, but he looks really assured and comfortable pulling the strings for that team already. It's testament to his skill level and his professionalism, just how quickly he's settled in, not only to a new side, but a new country, a new climate, a new season. Yeah. He's looking the real deal. But there were other standout performers on Sunday as well. I mean, I was covering match reporting duties this week because Mike Hyde is on holiday, so I had to pick him out of the match for the League Express report, and I actually went for James Meadows, who were one of the couple of the guys who the Bears brought in on a sort of dual reg agreement with the London Broncos, and I mean he was incredibly impressive the way he was pulling the strings alongside Newman. The two of them together, their kicking game complemented each other really well, but Meadows made a couple of breaks that set up some of the tries, and he looked really dangerous in attack and a really great option as first receiver. I think Rob Butler, one of the other Broncos lads, came in and made a massive impression, scoring a great try, quite harshly sin-bin, but again put up a real effort. But it almost feels a bit unfair singling out individuals, because I could literally read you the full 17 squad and I could find you positives for every single player. I mean, the Bears pack, we thought the pack looked good last week and they looked bigger than they did last season and stronger than last season. They were immense yesterday. Kieran Sherratt at loose forward, meaning that we could have Kieran Sherratt on the pitch and still have Jacob Jones and Chris Barrett, because Jacob Jones has made such a good start to the season. There's no reason why he shouldn't be playing, and those 3 added so much energy around the middle of the pitch. We know the work rate that the Bears props get through. You've already talked about Nathan Conroy at hooker, and Sam Davis came off the bench and did a couple of stints and put in a great shift as well. Yeah, and then in the backs, I mean, we know most of the back line from last season. Elliot Hall added 2 more tries to the one he scored on the opening day before he had to go off injured. But Kadeem Williams as well. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say what a start Elliot Hall has had.
Yeah. I mean, he looks immense at fullback, and then Kadeem Williams, who we saw make his competitive debut against West Wales, he had a lot more defensive work to do on Sunday, and I mean, he looks good in attack, but boy, can he tackle? Can he defend? He put in some quite phenomenal hits on his opposite number. All the players coming off the interchange made a real difference. It's cliched to say it, but it was a full squad job, and just terrific. And also it perhaps wasn't necessarily the full on the first choice team as we might have picked it as supporters. There's a few players there still getting bedded in and settled in, so that suggests there's more to come, which is really, really exciting.
Yeah, the squad this year is phenomenal, isn't it? I mean, there's players that will feel disappointed to have been left out. There's players that will get chances later in the season when covering injuries and so on. There's a really good squad, and the dual reg agreement as well with Broncos seems to be paying dividends. I think the one thing Tom and Alan and everyone else has always said is that dual reg agreement is not something that the club wants to depend on. There are other teams in League One whose results really depend on which dual reg players they get given on a weekly basis, and some teams pretty much every week play with 3 dual reg players. The Bears have used it really well at the weekend. Brought 3 players in to cover injuries in the squad at key positions, and it's worked out really well. I mean, I think all 3 of those guys have played previously for the Bears, or certainly Sam Davis has on quite a few occasions. So, it's something that really benefits the Bears, I think, going forward.
Definitely. Well, while we're talking about individual players, mentioned earlier that the Supporters Club man of the match was picked as Nick Newman, and I caught up with him after the game, so let's hear what he had to say. So Nick Newman, Supporters Club man of the match for the win against Newcastle. How was that to be part of? Because it was a spectacular game to watch.
Yeah, no, it was good to be a part of. All the boys got around each other at the end, and I think that's what brought us home in the end, is just the passion that everyone has for each other within the team, and games like that are the ones you cherish for the rest of your life, so it was good.
There was a lot of great Bears tries today, but your one, probably, certainly from my point of view, was the favourite of the day. I mean, wonderful chip and chase from Nathan, and you were just on hand to support and run in. It was a great try to watch.
Yeah, it's quite funny that Nathan doesn't back his kicking game, but that one worked out quite well, and I was just lucky enough to be on his hip, and he found me, and it was good to go up by 12 at that stage too. So it was good.
So you must be something of a lucky charm for the Bears in 2019. That's 2 wins from 2. I mean, how is it comparing to what you perhaps were expecting the challenge ahead for the Bears this season? Yeah,
2 from 2. You can't complain about that. I think the best thing about being a part of the Bears is everyone underestimates us, and we thrive on that here at the club. So, but we're starting to earn a bit of respect as a team, and it's good heading forward into the season.
And I guess you mentioned it yourself, looking forward there to the next game. Keighley away next week. What are you expecting from that as a challenge? Your first trip up to Yorkshire?
Yeah, I've heard about the bus trips and how long and draining they can be, so that's going to be the biggest challenge for myself, and obviously the team is getting up early, getting on the bus and preparing for Keighley, who got beat today, so we'll probably go into that favourites, so we just need to match that and do exactly what we've been doing the last 2 weeks and complete our sets, and I'm sure we can get a good game in.
Well, thanks again. Brilliant stuff today, Nick, and speak to you soon.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
So the post-match thoughts of Supporters Club man of the match Nick Newman there. I mean, Craig, we've basically just gone through every player who's played on Sunday and given them praise for something, and it really was one of those efforts. But in terms of, we were excited for the new season anyway, because it's a new season. We've had a long winter waiting for the Bears to get back, and we felt like there was something in the water. And Tom mentioned it at the end of his interview about not wanting to keep everyone's feet on the ground and not wanting to get too carried away. After all, it was just one win on Sunday, but this this sets the foundation for a potentially fantastic season. And it really has got people talking about the Bears yet again in the sport, hasn't it? It's just a really exciting time to be a Bears fan right now.
Yeah, and I think, I said last week that I thought the Bears had a chance of winning the game based on what I've seen so far and based on what I'd seen from the week before for Newcastle against Doncaster. Now, you and me are quite overly optimistic at times. Probably some would say unrealistic with our predictions, but everything that I've seen, the whole way that pre-season's gone, the makeup of the squad this year, there's been several key positions have been strengthened from last year. You've got a number of guys who now are approaching 50 plus games in League One. You've got a lot of experience in a very young squad. These guys are just getting better and better. And not only that, Tom and his coaching team as well, Alex Brown and Mark Sloan, they've all been working together for some time now. They're getting more experience in League One. This is no fluke. This is not like a one-off. I'm convinced that the Bears are going to continue to shock people, get on it, these results that people aren't expecting. And the team are the real deal. People will be giving them respect. I'm pretty certain for the rest of the season. And, this is my expectations were a top 6 finish this year. I think that I would stick by that, prediction. I think there's going to be some tough days ahead as well. There's going to be some games that against some experienced sides that maybe don't go the Bears' way. But, I'm just happy to ride this wave at the moment. And, the positivity around the club is just fantastic.
I guess the danger now is that the Bears are putting themselves, for very good reasons, putting themselves in the limelight a bit more. And they, again, something Tom alluded to in his interview, they perhaps don't necessarily get away with sneaking under the radar anymore. I mean, we're going to look ahead to the Keighley game this coming Sunday, and there's a very strong case to say that the Bears are favourites for that one now, based on form of this season. And that's not a position that the club are used to. So I'm like you. I think they're the real deal this year, and there's a lot of positivity around, and I think they can cope with being favourites. But it'll be interesting to see how the club have to adapt, if they do at all, in terms of a shift in expectations, what the opposition think they're going to get when they front up against the Bears team.
Yeah, I think they had some wins last year, some big wins against established clubs, and those were milestones that the Bears needed to achieve on the journey. But you get the feeling maybe those wins were, absolutely due to a brilliant Bears performances, but I'm pretty certain that most clubs would have underestimated the Bears, and that as you say, the preparation coming into a game against the Bears, they won't be expecting to get beat. They won't be, they'll be expecting a tough game, but every team playing the Bears will be confident, or would have been, certainly in previous seasons, been confident of potentially getting a win. And that makes a big difference. And the other thing as well, I said it last year, the Bears players, most of them are good enough to compete at this level. This is a very, very good squad, and they just need to believe in themselves. And the belief is there now. They've got some good wins last year, started this season fantastically. The best prepared squad that the Bears have ever had in terms of pre-season. And it's looking really good. I'm, as I say, very, very positive about how the Bears are going to do this year.
So let's look ahead to this Sunday then. Bears are going up to Keighley, and we all know what happened when the Bears went up to Keighley last year. Well, perhaps we don't all know if we've got new listeners this year. If you aren't aware, when the Bears travelled to Keighley last year, they came back on the wrong side of the club record defeat. They lost 98-6. Now, that was obviously a real low point, and the Bears did a lot of good work in turning that around when Keighley came down to Coventry last summer, because the Bears beat them. But as we said, going into it this season, the Bears 2 from 2. Keighley lost at the weekend, and they've had a turbulent off season, I think is a fair word to use there. We've already mentioned it. Potentially Bears are favourites going into this one. I certainly am not expecting another 98-6 from last year, but I'm fascinated to see what the Bears do, because we've not seen them travel in League One yet. The Bears have been at home for both games, but if they can't go into this weekend full of confidence, then I don't know when they ever will, really.
Yeah, I think Keighley, in terms of playing them, it's better to play, certainly playing them away is better to play them early this season. They've had massive disruption in the off-season. I mean, at one stage, I did genuinely fear for the future of Keighley as a rugby club. They really didn't look like they were going to be able to come through it. I mean, heading into January, they only had a handful of players training. The clubhouse was closed down, and by all accounts, there was falling into disrepair due to damage caused by by people who were custodians of the club at the time. There was a lot of stuff going on, and it was a really did not look good. Thankfully, they've come out the other side. They've got new ownership now. The people that were behind the Cougar Mania years. There's a lot of positivity at the club again, and they've actually signed some very good players. But saying that, as I said, I think having their pre-season disrupted, that will have had an impact. They did quite well in their first hit out of the season. They went away to Whitehaven and ran them close, 28-16, I think it was. But yeah, as you said, the Bears actually will go into the game thinking this is one that we've got an opportunity to win. Keighley will definitely be no pushovers. It will be a very tough game, and with the positivity around the club at Keighley, I expect quite a big crowd there as well. So they'll be cheering their guys on, and it'll be a tough game for the Bears. But with the way that the Bears are playing, if they can continue in this vein, they've got every chance of getting a result again.
Definitely. So we've done this on previous episodes. Feel like we should commit again. Are we going to make a prediction for this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a close one. As I said, I don't think Keighley will be pushovers. It'll be, I would hope it'll be Bears by around 10 points.
Okay.
Maybe just stretching away at the end. I think fitness will tell, and Keighley will probably start strongly. The Bears will finish strongly, I would have thought. Okay,
I'm going to go for Bears by 7. I think it will be. I think it will be very close. I mean, obviously it was only 4 points the margin against Newcastle, and that was tense enough. So yeah, I think a little bit more breathing room potentially than the Newcastle game, but it certainly won't be a walkover for either side. I don't think. I think it will be. Again, another fascinating test for the Bears to see whether they've made Butts Park Arena a fortress this year. Time to go on the road and prove that they can do it there as well. And I guess that's another hurdle for the Bears to tick off. Is they've beaten some northern sides now at home. Time to beat them on the road as well, and really make the rest of the sport sit up and take notice of them this year. But yeah, exciting times, isn't it? It really is. This is a really, really fun season so far. Yes, it's absolutely brilliant so far. As I said, there was a lot of excitement around the club before the start of the season with the way pre-season's had gone, and thankfully the guys are showing it on the pitch, and hopefully lots of more happy weekends to go until the end of the season. Yeah, well, we'll certainly be back next week to see how happy a trip it is to Keighley on Sunday. Don't forget, you can find us at covbearspodcast.com. All of our links for where you can subscribe are there, and we're at Cov Bears Podcast on Twitter. And yeah, thanks as always for listening. If you don't subscribe already, please do. And if you think you know of any friends who might like the show, then send them our way. Let's say covbearspodcast.com. You can find us on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube too. Craig, yeah, I'm gonna just go and enjoy the rest of the week being a Bears fan, I think, and I will chat to you next week when we reflect on whatever happens at Keighley.
Absolutely, mate. Cheers.